Hi, I'm Doug Burton.
I'm Magnafaith Creamy.
And
this is War Desk News.
The War Desk News is a news service that gives you information about conflicts in West Africa that the mainstream news platforms should be covering, but usually aren't.
Yes, we're coming to you from the United States of America, actually from the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And we're going to be talking kidnappings in Nigeria.
Well, the person in the news this week is Leah Sharibu, a beautiful 16-year-old young lady who 3 days ago spent her second birthday in captivity of Boko Haram.
Actually on the 14th of May, but we're celebrating her all through the week. And I understand that several NGOs, nonprofit organizations all around the world, came together in commemoration of her birthday to celebrate, the courage and the bravery that she showed in defending her faith. What do you have to say about that, Doug?
Well, she wouldn't give up her faith. And with all of its power and wealth, the government of Nigeria, the government of the most populated country in Africa, has not been able to get this young lady out of captivity, even though months after the girls were kidnapped, most of them were returned, and I believe the government gave a large ransom. But they didn't get Leah back.
Do you believe that Leah Sharibu is still alive?
I believe that she has been photographed. We've seen pictures of Leah, and she has communicated with her parents. She has sent a message, either a videotape or voicemail, that makes a plea to the government to do all it can to get her back to her parents.
The whole nation concerning the release of my daughter Leah. I appreciate the way both Christians and some Muslims are praying for the release of Leah. But up to now, she is yet to be released. And now I'm pleading the whole world for her release.
Kuma mai son aiki, kuma mai son bi. 19 ne ga watan biyu. 19 shine aka ce Boko Haram sun shigo gari. Kai interpreting ko to da suka shiga makarantan aka ce sun dauka yara da daddare ba mu sani ba sai da gari ya waye muka tafi.
We're celebrating Leah. We believe that she's the face of kidnapping, the face of kidnapping, not only
she's
kidnapping.
the faith of resistance to Boko Haram.
Right.
And she represents the spirit of the nation of Nigeria. She's a standard bearer for the Christian character of the Nigerian people. Of course, Nigeria is split between about one half Christian and one half Muslim. Mm-hmm. And Muslim people are kidnapped and ransomed just like Christian, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Obviously, we got news about a Muslim that was actually kidnapped from his house this past week. In fact, I think that was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to be visiting that topic very soon. But, Doug, I would like for us to talk more about Leah Sharibu and what she represents to a typical young Nigerian girl today.
Well, Leah represents the enterprising and the aspiration of Nigerian youth to be someone great. And the Nigerian people, especially those who have immigrated to the West, are achieving by leaps and bounds. Just recently, there was headlines in Texas about a Nigerian girl who was valedictorian of her high school in South Central Texas.
Absolutely.
And we see achievement by Nigerians all over the United States. In fact, it's thought that there's probably more than 1 million Nigerians in the United States. Many of them are very high-achieving people. The Nigerians are known to be well-educated, entrepreneurial, very ambitious in school. They value education. So the parents of Leah Sharibu decided to keep her in school in Dapchi, even though they were warned several times that there was the possibility of an attack. But her parents, their mentors, their school authorities begged them to really ordered them to come back to school. Well, they'd left school several times fearing an attack by Boko Haram, but they went back and they were all kidnapped in February of 2017. It's very tragic. And it's the topic of the Chibok Girls, which is an award-winning dramatization that recently made presentations at Georgetown University.
Soyinka.
He was there.
He was there, and of course, he also was celebrating Leah Sharibu, and I believe he mentioned, a couple of things. He mentioned some stuff about her, commemorating her birthday. Am I correct?
Well, he did a special poem. He made a reading from an unpublished poem called Ode to Leah Sharibu, a Humanist Manifesto.
That is amazing.
And in his poem, he takes shots at religious extremists, both in the Christian sector and in the Muslim sector. So,
Do we have recordings of that?
well, I'm sure Georgetown University does.
Okay, we'll try to get that to you as soon as we can. Yeah, but with regards to Leah Sharibu, I want to just point out one more thing. I like the fact that you connected how that, in the diaspora, or in the United States especially, we have, an educated ethnic group in Nigerians, and how that, they're very resilient, how that they're very dynamic, they're very industrious,
Yes, they
and
are.
very productive.
They are.
And yet, the same Nigerians who are in the diaspora and making so much progress, tremendous progress, in fact, and actually to say, are not able to freely, gain an education in Nigeria. Isn't that?
It's a great irony.
It is.
It's tragic, and it's an irony. You can't blame Nigerians for wanting to go to the West, and they are in increasing numbers.
Oh yeah, it's 20 million. As of 2012, we had about 20 million Nigerians in the diaspora. 20 million Nigerians in the diaspora. So, having said that, I am glad, I am happy that the world is celebrating, the bravery and the courage that is Leah Sharibu. This is magnafaith, and we'll be right back.
When I fell, you picked me up. When I was lost, you found me, Lord. What can I say? What can I do? What can I give for all you've done? Day after day, I just wanna praise you. Day after day, day after day, I just wanna love you. Day after day, day after day, day after day, I just wanna praise you. Day after day, day after day, day after day.
And magnafaith.
I just wanna
So, Dog, we're talking about, kidnapping to Nigeria.
Right.
And I remember how that you were talking off screen that, oh my God, how is it possible for somebody to be kidnapped from their homes? Well, we have breaking news for you today coming from World Desk News. Dog, do you want to introduce?
Well, I'm not an expert on Nigeria. I'm a reporter, and I've written many stories on terrorism. And a few months ago, I got interested in Nigeria. I've read many stories about people getting kidnapped on the highways. And in fact, it's very common for kidnapping gangs by the hundreds to stop traffic with fighters who are impersonating policemen. They wear soldiers' uniforms. They stop traffic, and they kidnap dozens of people at a time, sometimes 40 or 50 people, and they march them into the jungle. They march them for hours and hours and hours into the trackless bushes where no one can find them. And then they take their cell phones, they chain everyone up, and they keep them there for days until they can get the ransom.
That is the order of the day, and this is becoming rampant. The numbers are skyrocketing, and of course, we got information from a reliable source about how that a man was being kidnapped from his home yesterday. And Dog, it's amazing to note that this man just only got married 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, his wife apparently she's frantic about it.
You're just talking about his wife, his family, and
Whole family,
Of
yeah.
course, a family member reached out to World Desk News
Sure.
today, and and mentioned that 10 million naira.
Which is how much in U.S. dollars?
Oh, Dog, I don't have my calculator here. You don't want to put me out there like that. Come on, teammate. Yes, 10 million naira, which of course we will calculate and probably run it through the screen for you. 10 million naira is the amount that has been requested in ransom for this amazing man, a new husband, a brother, a son, a citizen, an innocent citizen of, the northern Nigerian region. It's unfortunate, it's sad, it's tragic, it's heartbreaking, it's heart-wrenching. Dog, what do you have to say about that?
Well, some people would say that the crime in Nigeria is so great, the terrorism is so widespread that Nigeria is a failed state. And that was the judgment of Mr. Stephen Inada, who's the chairman of the very respected NGO called the International Committee on Nigeria. And Stephen Inada said it's a failed state already.
I don't agree with that statement. I believe that, yes, we're having crisis with regards to kidnappings and, terrorism in Nigeria, but I don't necessarily agree that Nigeria is a failed state. I believe that if necessary actions are not taken now, it could become a failed state.
I think that's reasonable. Nigeria is the richest country in Africa. It's a very successful country. It's got huge resources. I mean, it's, I think, the 5th largest exporter of petroleum in the world. But it has enormous gold reserves. It has vast amounts of other mineral wealth. And in fact, the Minister of Mining recently revealed, there's a story published in the newspaper Punch that actually $2.16 billion in gold was smuggled out of Nigeria in the last 3 years.
Which is a topic that we need to discuss. We need to discuss, and maybe some upcoming episodes. So, Doc, I don't even want you to mention that right now.
Okay.
I want us to focus on, the kidnappings, the reaction, the response of government and the reaction of the citizenry in Nigeria. Do you think that enough action is being taken to tackle, the pandemic, so to say, that has become, Nigerian kidnapping crisis?
Well, I can't speak for myself. I'm not an expert, but Nigerians are saying that the government's clearly not doing enough. And one of them is a gentleman who is a critic of the government, but he's also from the state of Kaduna, where there are many kidnappings, a huge number of them, and many unsolved murders, in fact, mass slaughters during the night. And his name, George McCary, a critic of the government, sent us a video, a statement in which he said the government's certainly not doing enough.
Okay, let's watch this video.
Supposed to have our government giving them $100 billion. But the irony to this whole thing is that the government is perhaps not aware of its primary responsibility and why the Constitution allow her to be in charge of the forces and resources of the country. The forces and resources of a country is to be used to protect the lives and properties of the citizens and also cater for her welfare. It is not to be given to those who are killing the people or destroying their properties, like the $100 billion that has been given to herdsmen. Coming to my Kaduna state, for instance, you have a situation where the governor crossed the borders of this country to go and pay killer herdsmen. Yet this same governor will come back and tell critics that he is not going to pay any critic for the critic to stop criticizing. But this same governor is able to pay killers for killers to stop killing. So by and large, it means that the critics needed to become killers in order to secure the attention and the pampering and payment of ransom by the government. I have a friend, Stephen Kefers. If you have been following the news, you will realize that this particular humble and noble son of Southern Kaduna, who has been a fierce critic of the system, has been arrested. Now, on the charges that he is guilty of incitement, he is guilty of false accusation. Now, these are the kind of petty things that is disturbing this government when we have killers and kidnappers ravaging the Abuja-Kaduna highway. We're expecting that the government is supposed to pour all its energy towards bringing an end to that menace. Unfortunately, the government is busy chasing rats while its house is on fire.
So we just saw a video of Stephen McCary
Yes.
from Kaduna State.
He's from Kaduna State. He's has spent a career as a high school teacher and principal, but he's out of work now, partly because he's been a critic of the government.
Right. So you spoke with Stephen McCary on the phone, did you?
I did, and I asked Mr. McCary some questions, and he responded to these questions by making his own video, which is easy to do these days, and he sent it to War Desk News.
Do you think that the economic state of Nigeria is a factor that allows for, the youth and the young adults in Nigeria to become vulnerable to kidnappings and banditry and terrorism?
Well, absolutely. There's no doubt about it that some people who are getting into the kidnapping, industry are just can't find jobs, and they're drawn into what seems to them to be easy money. And some of these people were actually they were actually in a jail cell recently with a political prisoner who's a friend of War Desk News, Mr. Stephen Kephas, and he told us some interesting things about the kidnappers who were in a jail cell with him.
Stephen Kephas. Stephen Kephas is a very, very interesting topic to discuss, because I understand that Stephen Kephas was incarcerated as a result of his rebellion as it pertains to the government of Nigeria. Am I correct?
It's actually, he was charged with incitement. Stephen gave us a call. We've been in touch with him, praying with him, and he's part of a network of reporters in Nigeria for which we're very grateful. It's called the Prayer News Network.
Yes.
Praying Christians talk with they talk with folks in Nigeria in the conflict zones and pray with them, and then they get news. Now, Stephen Kephas is from Kaduna, where there is terrible violence, but he hasn't been exposed to it recently because his job was in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, on the coast. But he tweeted something accusing or suggesting that that the governor of his state hadn't done enough or had miscarried justice relating to the treatment of his tribe.
And this is Stephen Kephas,
Stephen Kephas,
and not Mr. McCary.
No, this is Stephen Kephas, and he was arrested a week ago. And he said he was well treated by the jailers. He said possibly because of the publicity, some Nigerian news services immediately posted stories about Stephen Kephas. And he said, as a result of that, he was well treated, and he got bail. He was out on bail Monday of this week. We talked to him then. And he told us that he was in a jail cell for more than 2 days with kidnappers in Kaduna.
Stephen Kephas is a story that we're going to continue to follow, because we would like to know what happens with Stephen Kephas's charges,
Right.
whether they will be dropped or whether he will be, whether he'll be indicted.
Stephen said that he will appear in court again on June 3rd.
On June 3rd. So on June 3rd, we will be bringing more news or updates, so to say, for you. We're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we will continue to discuss War Desk in Nigeria. Until then, this is Douglas Burton and magnafaith Creamy.
Day after day.
This is War Desk News. I am magnafaith and
Doug Burton.
Doug Burton. Now, we understand that this month, the Court of Justice of the Economic Community of West African States ordered that the Nigerian government investigate the mass killings and destruction that occurred in Benue State in 2016, to prosecute, of course, the perpetrators and to compensate the victims. It is understood also, according to my notes, that that around 500 people died in attacks by Fulani militiamen.
Yes.
Fulani militiamen, which brings us to what we were talking about as regards to Stephen Kephas, who was incarcerated and said that and stated expressly that he was in the talks with some Fulani.
Well, he was arrested on the charge of incitement, and he was transferred to a jail. First of all, police came from Kaduna State. They found him in Port Harcourt and arrested him, although it's questionable whether they had jurisdiction in Port Harcourt. There are killings all over the north of Nigeria. Many people have said it amounts to a genocide against Christians, which is being disguised as a land dispute. In the state of Kaduna, which is north central Nigeria, and in the southern part of Kaduna, in the governance area called Kajuru, there have been, according to our sources, 11 attacks on Christian villages this year since February 1st. 11 attacks, and more than 200 people have been murdered. Murdered at night. Murdered by hundreds of hoodlums, so-called hoodlums, who are in fact Fulani bandits or Fulani militia, whatever. They are, in every case, the witnesses and the participants of these incidents have told me that they are radicalized Fulanis carrying machetes and very often AK-47s, and they're absolutely brutal and deadly. So I think part of the issue we have in Nigeria is that the news media and the government are never honest about who's actually doing the killing. It's not just hoodlums. It's in fact an ethnicity. In virtually all cases, it's the ethnicity known as the Fulani, which is a very big ethnicity in West Africa. As far as I understand, 38 million people, only a few of whom are involved in crime. But it's not irrelevant.
I think it's more interesting that the citizenry are complacent, that they're comfortable with. I'm not saying that that they are happy, but I mean from all indication, it seems like we're complacent. Like it's okay. We're numb. We're numb to the killings. Like it's okay that mothers are being killed and children are left without mothers and mothers are left without their husbands. Children are left without their fathers to raise them, and all of the farmland, being taken over. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but then it seems like as though the people of the country are like far removed from reality. Like, hey, this is something in a movie. It's not real.
It is. It's dystopian. It's tragic. According to our sources, up to 2 million Nigerians are living in internally displacement camps. The whole villages have had to be evacuated. It's devastated many parts of Nigeria.
Do you think that this is a systemic and organized structure and means and tool by which a certain group of people are making money?
Well, there's no doubt that kidnapping itself is bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly billions of dollars, because it's everywhere. You find a pandemic of kidnapping in the northwestern part of Nigeria, in the state of Zamfara. You have kidnapping in Adamawa,
In Maiduguri.
It's Maiduguri, it's everywhere.
Kaduna.
Yeah. So.
Oh, but it's amazing to note that Kaduna actually has the highest number of kidnappings in Nigeria.
And it happens on the highway. I mean, there's a major road from the capital of Abuja. It takes about an hour and a half to drive this major highway into Kaduna City. And the kidnappings are so frequent and so deadly that many of the office workers who commute from Abuja are afraid to drive their vehicles. They go by train, or they go in buses with armed guards.
This is War Desk News, and of course, your favorite hosts, magnafaith Creamy
and Doug Burton.
We'll be right back.
After day, day after day, day after day, I just wanna love you day after day. You breathe in me, you gave me a life. You gave me a purpose, gave me a song. Waiting I go give for all you've done. All that I have, I give to you. Day after day, I just wanna praise you. Day after day, day after day, I just wanna love you. Day after day, day after day, day after day, I just wanna praise you. Day after day, day after day, day after day, I just wanna love you. Day after day. Sarkin dunia, sarkin salama, kiloruka baba, kiloruka Jesu, Ubangiji Yesu, mai cetona, mai nasara. You are my strength, you are my rock, you are defender, you are provider. Kiloruka baba, kiloruka Jesu. You are provider, you are defender, you are my shield, you are my strength. Kiloruka baba, kiloruka Jesu. Day after day, I just wanna praise you. Day after day, day after day, I just wanna love you. Day after day, 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 day after day.